The cardiovascular system is sometimes called the vascular, or simply the circulatory system. It consists of the heart, which is a muscular pumping device, and a closed system of vessels called arteries, veins, and capillaries. As the name implies, blood contained in the circulatory system is pumped by the heart around a closed circle or circuit of vessels as it passes again and again through the various circulations of the body. The heart. The heart is a pump, usually beating about 60 to 100 times per minute. With each heartbeat, the heart sends blood throughout our bodies, carrying oxygen to every cell. After delivering the oxygen, the blood returns to the heart. The heart then sends the blood to the lungs to pick up more oxygen. The heart has two atria that fill in as getting chambers and two ventricles that fill in as sephoning chambers. It's encased in an intense membranous sac called the pericardium. The cavity among it and the heart is loaded up with pericardial liquid, which decreases rubbing between the sac and thumping heart. The right side siphons the oxygenated blood to the lungs, while the left side siphons oxygenated blood to any remaining tissues. During abrupt exercise, the left ventricle has an expanded interest to convey blood, prompting hypertrophy. An electrical signal or electrical sign is created by the cardiovascular muscle, permitting the heart to contract all alone. The SA hub or the sinoatrial node makes an electrical drive that is sent through the atria, setting off the atrial myocardium to contract. The sympathetic, parasympathetic, and endocrine systems control heart rate.
What is torsional contraction of the heart and why it is important? Ventricular torsion is an important part of a normal cardiac function. One is to provide range motion that helps ventricles empty more completely and support pump function. The other is to reduce ventricular wall stress during systolic shortening, which lowers oxygen demand and improves contractile efficiency. Torsion of the left ventricle is the ringing motion of the ventricle around its long axis, induced by contracting myofibers in the left ventricle wall. During initial isovolumic contraction, the apex and the base both rotate in a counterclockwise direction. When viewed from apex to base, subsequently, during systole, the base changes direction and starts to rotate in a clockwise direction, while the apex continues to rotate in a counterclockwise direction. Left ventricle torsion is followed by a rapid isovolumic untwisting of the ventricle during contraction. Potential elastic energy is stored in the collagen matrix and cytoskeletal proteins. It releases cause rapid untwisting and contributes to active suction of blood from the atria. So in short, torsional contraction is blood takes a roller coaster ride through the heart. The right side pushes blood to the lungs and the left sends it around the body. So blood arriving from the body enters the right atrium first and then drops to the right ventricle from where it is driven out of the lungs. So torsional contraction is important during exercise because it increases during exercise. It has more potential energy is produced during systole through vigorous twisting contractions, resulting in greater diastolic untwisting and therefore allowing for diastolic filling to occur more rapidly. What is the difference between systole and diastole and how do they relate with BPE and SVT? The distinction between diastole and systole is that the previous is a ventricular compression while the last is a ventricular unwinding. The SVT and SVT together make up one pulse, where the higher thrusting factor is the supply route implies the higher ventricular withdrawal, and low ventricular unwinding implies the low blood pressure.
What is the relationship between pressure, flow, and resistance? Blood flows from high to low pressure, and pressure differences from opposite ends of a vessel is what causes blood to flow. Resistance creates a difference in pressure and provides blood flow resistance. How is blood flow to the various regions of the body controlled? Blood flow is primarily controlled by vasoconstriction and vasodilation. These processes divert blood flow to where it's needed most. Changes in blood vessel size can direct both blood pressure and flow to supply it to specific parts of the body.
How does muscle blood flow increase during exercise, despite increased sympathetic nerve activity that favors vasoconstriction? The myogenic mechanism in the kidneys auto-regulate filtration and the flow of blood, so even though vasoconstriction happens, overall blood flow is increased. Arteriolar smooth muscles also contract and extend to help counteract the effect of blood pressure changes. Describe 3 important mechanisms for returning blood back to the heart when someone is exercising in an upright position. The 3 important mechanisms for returning blood back to the heart while exercising upright are: metabolic regulation causes arterioles to dilate by releasing vasodilating chemicals to allow more blood to flow to the area. Endothelium triggers mediated vasodilation, initiating the process in vascular smooth muscles, delivering blood containing nitric oxide. Myogenic response create pressure inside the vessels, which causes both vasodilation and vasoconstriction.
Describe the primary function of the blood. So there are 3 primary functions of the blood. First is transport. Blood transport the following substances: gases, namely oxygen and carbon dioxide, between the lungs and rest of the body; nutrients from the digestive tract and storage sites of the rest of the body; waste products to be detoxified or removed by the liver and kidneys; hormones from the glands in which they are produced to their target cells; heat to the skin so as to help regulate body temperature. Second is protection. Blood has several roles in inflammation. White blood cells destroy invading microorganisms and cancer cells. Antibodies and other proteins destroy pathogenic substances. Platelet factors initiate blood clotting and help minimize blood loss. And lastly, regulation. Blood helps regulate pH by interacting with acids and bases. Water balance by transferring water to and from tissues. So the primary functions of the blood include transporting oxygen and substrates in the circulatory system to be used the entire body, temperature regulation during physical activity due to heat production from the muscles, and buffers acids formed during anaerobic metabolism, maintaining pH homeostasis.